Hopefully we're beginning to see that rhythm and drums are connected, music and rhythm are absolutely connected. And the next step from kind of being able to place a kick drum on beats 1 and 3 and a snare drum on 2 and 4 is to really get a sense of the piano. Because already we're learning that number 1 triggers a kick drum or a bass drum. And that number 1 is really called C. And we need to know the notes that a snare drum is triggered by D and that F sharp is a closed hi-hat. So we are going to take a look at the piano, basic scale, and chords, and how that looks in Pro Tools, and just visually more than anything else. And with that idea in mind, I always like to start out looking at the piano keyboard and say, hey, what do you notice? What do you look at? When you look at the piano keys, what do you notice? What do you notice about the letters? What do you notice about the layout of the white and the black keys? What do you notice, in between the notes or not in between the notes? Some of the main things that I notice, first is that if I were to count, or go up the alphabet from A, B, C, D, E, F, G, it starts over again at A, or B to B, or G to G. So there seems to be 7 notes from A to G, and there's some things in between. I also notice that there are black keys and white keys, that there's 2 black keys and then 3 black keys and then 2 black keys and then 3 black keys, kind of, an alternating pattern there. There's no black key between E and F. There's no black key between B and C. So there's a visual pattern there. And I notice that there are these pound signs or hashtags and lowercase b's, and what those indicate are sharps and flats. So the number sign is a note that is called to or referred to as sharp, and the lowercase b, which really doesn't look like a lowercase b, but it's all I have, is akin to, it's called a flat. And if you look at these keys I've added, that essentially C sharp and D flat are the same exact note. They're actually referred to depending on the key signature. And at first, when I talk about this visually, I just say, think of C sharp as when you're going up to D and you're going to the half step, or you're going to D sharp. And if you're going down the notes, this would be E flat and D flat, but it's really the same thing. And all that matters for us at this point is to be able to see, hey, this first black key of the pair, before there's a trio and then there's a pair, that it's either C sharp or D flat. So if I'm told either, through a video or from me, hey, it's on C sharp, and that D flat and C sharp are the same thing, or I say it's on D sharp, D flat. This interval between A and A is what's called an octave. So let's take a look at Pro Tools for a second. This is C2, all right? The number 2, this is C, C3. These are the same exact notes, C and C. That's what's called an octave, and it is a really important musical concept. But again, this pattern just goes over and over again, A to A, G to G, F to F, ultimately. Now, let's listen to and think about notes being played in a sequence. Really, that's what melody is. You take a series of notes, do-da, do-do-da, whatever it might be, that is playing from a set of notes that work together. And those basic concept is that's what a scale is, a series of notes. And the simplest scale to visualize and hear is the major scale, and most specifically the C major scale. If you've ever heard do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, don't trust that my notes are on or anything like that, but do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do is the octave, right? Where you have C, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, and then do again, do to do. And this is what the C major scale sounds like. Okay, again, this note, C2 and C3, they are the exact same note, an octave apart. Now, taking the idea of the notes, a chord is a combination of notes played together. So when we have the scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and we just play a couple of those notes or a few of those notes, C, E, and G, and again, that was just an octave higher. So C, E, G, what does that look like? What does that sound like? C, E, and G. Okay? And that is what we define as a basic chord. Now in Pro Tools, this is the session that I have up at the moment, there's 3 chords being played here. And if you look at this progression, and let's bring our talk of rhythm into it. Let me see if I can, no, I can't do that. We'll look at Pro Tools. So these are 3 chords, C major, the C, E, G, C, E, G, and C major 7, which, not going to go too far with it, adds a 4th chord, which is the 7th step of the major scale. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It added the B up top. So it sounds like this. Okay. And then the 3rd chord that is in here is F major, FAC, which is just more a different combination of notes from within the major scale. Okay, so this first chord, the C major, is being played for 1 measure. Okay, bringing in our understanding of the measures and beats. Then we're playing C major 7 for 1 measure, and then this one is F major that is playing for 2 measures. And something I'm thinking about right now is that I like how this lower note is playing, and then when it goes up here, I don't know, for me it sounds a little bit thin. So what I'm going to do is grab my pencil tool, and I see that it's playing F. It's playing F in the 3rd octave, so this is F, F3. I'm going to go down to F2 and draw in a note. Again, another way of just thinking about it is looking, I was at the white key below the 3 black keys, and I'm going to go find that same visual pattern and see that it's F here. I'm going to go out and I'm going to draw in my 2 measure note, which is an octave below this lowest note of this chord. And I just want to do that because it's going to give it a little bit more richness to the tone of the chord. All right, so there's no set number of notes that a chord can be. Okay, listen to it before and listen to it. Okay, these are small things, but these are really important things. All right, so that's really the idea of the piano notes, what a scale is, and what chords are.